I've decided, since it's freaking cold, that I really don't want to work on the bike today. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a cold startup. When I shut the bike off last, about 2 weeks ago after getting it, I set the fuel, there's a word for it, petcock or something. I set the fuel to shut off, and I let the bike run until I'm hoping it used all the gas from the carburetor. So we're gonna get through that, and then we're just gonna try warming up the bike using the choke, because that's a new thing to some of us. If it's your first bike, it's definitely a new thing to you. If you're coming from like the ruckus world like me, also a new thing. So maybe we'll learn a little something. Last time I had to use the choke, which seems like you kind of have to use the choke all the time because it wasn't cold that day. It's something you're gonna have to learn to work with, and it's not an on-off half thing from my experience. It really is sort of like a dial. I'm gonna start by just turning the choke on all the way, and we're gonna go from there, and we're gonna feel it out and just kind of adjust it based on how the engine sounds. So let's go do that. I got this lovely blanket here. I don't have a cover for it yet. We do have people that run through the alley sometimes looking for cans, or contractors like throw away trash, and I don't want a bright red bike to spark anyone's interest until I get into the garage especially. So it's one way to kind of stealth your bike a little bit. Like, even on a regular cover, people, if they can't see the bike, the interest doesn't seem to be there as much. So do whatever you can, keep your bike from getting stolen, right? All right, so we've got the petcock set to off, all right? I believe this looks like a full test tube or tank, and this is the lower one. So we're gonna move it down to there, or we'll check the manual real quick. Information operation guide is probably the way to go. 16, starting the engine. 27, oh, there's a fuel valve, here we go. Okay, so yeah, down, I guess you could think of right here as letting the fuel down, and then there's a reserve up there. I don't know how to think of that, but you can see just barely there's that little notch we're talking about, and that's off, and then the notch being down is on. Now remember, I drained the carburetor the last time I ran this, so it could take a second for fuel to get in there. Obviously fuel's not pumping now. I don't think it has like an electric pump that way. Fuel could be running to the carb quickly. The minute we open that, it might be quick. It might take a second. We'll figure that out. All right, remember we're at 30 degrees, so it is actually chilly out here. So now we're gonna try playing with the choke, because it is running a little rough. Getting better. Maybe don't touch anything, as long as it's not dying, I guess. Let's go ahead and take the choke all the way off. Not bad. Let's try giving it a little gas here. Doesn't like that at all. Doesn't like that at all. Go back to full choke. Starts right up. So, doesn't like that. It really wants full choke. I'm Notice I'm holding the brake while I give it gas, even though with the center stand, the wheel is not on the ground. But I think it's good to be in a habit of holding that brake and being ready to control the bike. If you were sitting down and starting the bike or whatever, I think it's just a good habit. Just curious. That's pretty rough. Here's what I do to shut the bike down, just in case I'm not going to ride it right away. All right, so with the bike running, I'm going to look for that notch. There's a line here, ignore it. The notch is what's important. I'm going to take the notch from the run, and I'm going to go to off. All right? Go off while the bike is on and running, and we're going to leave it in that position even after it dies. And so the last time I did this, it did take a little while, so I may fast forward through this. I may rev the bike a little bit to get rid of that gas in that carb, okay? But at this point, no fuel should be going from the gas tank to the car. All of this running right here is happening because there's fuel in the carb bowl. All right, well, I'll show you that later, but that's where the fuel is. This fuel is cut off from the engine. Man, you can almost hear it trying to die, but even like gas fumes could be running the bike at this speed. There we go. Turn off. We're good to go. Okay, let me explain the carb and the carb bowl real quick. Okay, this is a carburetor from a Honda Ruckus. Okay, so it's going to be a little different, but you should get the gist. Basically, you have an inlet or an in and an out. This goes directly to the engine. This connects to the air box. The air is going to come in through there, pass by like the jets. There's the carb bowl. There's like the diaphragm up here, just to give you a rough idea. But as the air passes it through here, it goes past the jets. And the jets are really just small pieces of metal with a little hole in it. And so you got fuel underneath that can escape through that little hole and get sucked into that airflow. And it's done because there's a Venturi effect caused by it narrowing through that passage, okay? The fuel is held in here, and just to kind of show you, this is from another carb. It literally is a bowl, all right? And it will be filled with gasoline. And that gasoline, the fumes and stuff go, like I said, up through those jets, and then they get drawn into that whenever the engine sucks in for the intake phase, all right? And the problem, though, is the reason that we want to empty this is directly exposed to air. Through those jets, that little hole in the jet, air comes in here and hits the fuel, where in the gas tank, it's very difficult. There might be one point where the fuel touches air. Why is this important, though? Okay, this is important because the bowl is actually exposed to air. The air that passes through the carburetor needs to breathe off of the bowl. Okay, so that's a lot of air that can get to all that fuel, and it's a small amount of fuel, so it goes bad really, really quick. Okay? On a gas tank, it's sealed. The air that's in there is in there. It's mostly gas fumes anyway. If the gas is exposed anywhere, it's on a line to one point, okay? It's very difficult to spoil that gas. It's the air that does it, okay? If you drain the bowl of your carb, the fuel that's in your bike will last that much longer. And in fact, if you don't drain it, or if you don't use it up, there's usually a screw that leads to a little port. It opens that port up and you can actually drain out the carb. So you get back to the bike, you didn't prep the bike to sit. You can drain that, refill it. Sometimes I refill it a couple of times, but you refill it and you can burn off any bad fuel that's still there usually. And then your new fresh gas will help get out any that. It looks like lacquer when gasoline really is really old. But so it may not be like thick and sludgy when you get to it, but know that some of it may be on some places closest there has turned into a little bit of that sludge. Running fresh gas through it will eat that away. It's a solvent. So carb, choke, fuel valve. It's a petcock. It's a complex petcock. Anyways, or I just want to say that word. You guys have a great time. Enjoy your rides. I know some of you are already out there enjoying the Navi. Super cool. Hopefully I see you in the group. You know, the nicest people ride a Honda. Keep it up, guys. Later. You might notice that the pinball machine is still here. The guy who bought it hasn't picked it up yet. I mean, I know him decently. I go to his pinball bar all the time. So, you know, I think he trusts me. But if you're wondering, that's what's going on with that.